Hello team and welcome back to another Line War cast. This is your map today in a 1v1 between T in blue and Dåseåbneren in red. This is a game from the quarterfinals of the T2 2024 tournament that's being played right now in Line War. This is game 3 between these two folks. So T has won game 1, Dåseåbneren has won another game, and this is the deciding match to see who goes on to the semifinals in the tournament. And Dåseåbneren spawning in the middle, building a dock immediately, and T is down in the bottom right. Probably would expect a lot of docks from Dåseåbneren. I feel like Dåseåbneren in this sort of situation would build a lot of docks. 2 being a lot, I think, to start off this game. 3 being certainly a lot, and then an airport as the follow-up. 2 airports from T, and a factory making SAMs, which is a very nice call from T because of Dåseåbneren's airport, so it's going to come in handy to deal with the red planes. T is a little bit boxed in on the map, and so the answer is to go 3 airports. I love this from T. Is this all strikers? No, it's all helicopters. It's going to be helicopters from T. Neither player knows where the other one is. This is Blue's vision. And from the picking phase, which I don't usually cover in the casts, just because of time constraints really, but depending on how the picking phase went, both these players might have an idea of where the other one is. And if you want to learn about the picking phase, I think there's a video on the channel about it. But it's one of the best parts about Line War, to balance these asymmetrical maps. Both players would have known what maps to prepare for this round of the tournament, so they could have a strat in their back pocket for this. It's destroyers after the 1 transport boat from Dåseåbneren to go across this little landmass. So there's 2 cruisers in the north here. And Dåseåbneren is the first one to build an eco building with that town. T's first 2 helicopters are going to complete. Still no dock or way for Blue to get off of this landmass in the bottom right. But I believe the plan would be, these are commandos that are being built out of this barracks, so one of these airports is going to make a transport plane at some point. It looks like T wants to go for more of like a heavy punch at first, electing to go for more helicopters. And this is going to be a lot of planes for Blue that shows up. They're not really immediately in range of like destroying the airport. For Red, the helicopter ranges, you can see them here on this green line. If the helicopters leave the airport, that's about as far as they can go. One of the strengths of helicopters is that they can land in allied territory anywhere on the map, so they would be able to get closer to Red's base if they land here, for example, since this is a capped territory for T, or over here, for example. And Dåseåbneren has a second helicopter on the way, getting to more infantry over to this little northern island. There is a potential trade route that Red could take here if this town and port are built. And then we would expect Red to also start expanding to the left-hand side of the map. There's a lot of territory over here. Obviously a bunch of eco, some oil as well, some energy wells. And this is a great refinery from T in the bottom right. There's no way that Red's ever going to be able to destroy this. I don't even think that boats could get through this little choke. They might be able to. It's sometimes hard to tell. I really like this entrenched artillery piece against the coast there. The artillery piece gets a range bonus when it's in the entrenchment like that. And so any boat that did try to run by here or something would take a lot of damage. And maybe it might not even get through. So Red knows that there are helicopters. This is likely a missile boat, and it is. And this is also a missile boat for Dåseåbneren, who has plenty enough cruisers for the situation right now, but it's not like Red would know this. If you look at Red's vision, this is what Dåseåbneren can see. The one problem here for Blue is just that Blue isn't off this main part of the island yet. But the transport plane is going to be able to reach here, and this is what the plan is with this move command, with the transport plane and the commando as the receiver. both players have their first refineries at this point, and then factory for Dåseåbneren. Very likely that this is going to be making SAMs to supplement these interceptors that are being created. 4 helicopters will be able to chip away at the entrenchments. They're probably not going to be able to make a big enough hole for any meaningful amount of blue infantry to run by this position, especially because there's only one barracks for blue and it's making commandos right now. T's starting to transfer some of these infantry down. And after the one transport plane, it's all helicopters for T. The SAM count is going to be quite nice for blue. And it was actually 2 artillery pieces that were built first for T, just to fill that entrenchment, which is great to defend the refinery. Blue doesn't really have a second. Actually, there's a second refinery. It's right in front of my eyes, hidden in plain sight. Okay, so blue would have plenty of energy to keep these 3 helicopters, or 3 airports worth of helicopters going. Blue will have to be a little bit careful not to lose a bunch of these helicopters to the missile boats. In big enough numbers, helicopters can take on missile boats. Like in this case, in a 3v1, I think the helicopters will likely be able to destroy this boat. And I was wrong, but heavily damaged. But this is what the problem is. If even one of these helicopters go down, this becomes like a horrible situation for T. Because missile boats super good at shooting down planes, surprisingly. And without a big mass of helicopters, a big swarm of helicopters, Blue's not going to be able to fight these planes immediately, or these boats immediately. Okay, so T's going to rotate the helicopters to the right-hand side. That makes a lot of sense given the positioning of the missile boats. The real thing that this stops is actually the transport plane from really being used, because the transport plane could go up to the north now and drop, but it doesn't really help because it's going to run into these infantry, and we're about to see that happen. Thankfully for T, some of these helicopters could be used to help the commandos land. Move command from Dåseåbneren just to get a scout off. Interceptors have great vision, but not good enough to actually see these airports that are in the forest with that stealth bonus. Nice pick off from the artillery to actually destroy one of the missile boats. You can see the range of those artillery pieces. And it is more interceptors and purely SAMs for Dåseåbneren. Eco-wise, 535 for red and 500 for blue. So T's not super far behind by any measure. And obviously every SAM that's destroyed is good news for blue. You can see the idea from Dåseåbneren taking these 2 cruisers and moving them down towards this choke. They'll be super good at defending and helping out this defense line against the infantry, but T might actually get through it before the boats get here. There's not really that many land units to follow this up. And now it's a switch into the strikers. Strikers for blue are actually in range of the airport and could target commanded down. And this is the commandos getting stuffed. 3 infantry don't have the vision to see this one. But it'll be a little bit difficult for T to actually get situated on this island. It's possible. And if blue can cap one of these territories, we'll likely see a barracks that gets created. Neither player is on the far left. I guess actually T is here on the bottom middle island, but no one to the far left of the map yet. Cruisers, their little machine gun that goes off the boat actually does a lot of damage to the helicopters. But there's just enough here. Unlucky for T that one of these cruisers actually isn't destroyed by the helicopters. And this is very bad now for blue. It's really only 3 infantry that got through this, past these 3 cruisers. And there's only 1 SAM remaining near the front for T. There's 3 at home, which is nice. And we're about to see if 6 helicopters can take on 3 missile boats. I think the answer is yes. But you'll be able to see the trade here. And the problem is that it's 3 dock production from Dåseåbneren, and it's going to all be missile boats at this point. There might be like a cruiser or 2 that Dåseåbneren mixes in. This 3rd dock is actually not building anything, so Red has decided that there's enough boats. And 2 more barracks for Dåseåbneren to start capping this island that T is already on. And eco-wise, 570 for T and 585 for Dåseåbneren. Another interceptor gets out without, I mean, it's super low health for Red there. But still alive. This interceptor is certainly in trouble. And still, if we go top down, Red taking more of the map. This is great for T. If this factory could get set up and pump out some SAMs, presumably it's going to be SAMs from blue, just because the helicopters are a pretty big risk. Dåseåbneren could just like move these helicopters over to fight the factory and then these commandos. Still 2 airports making helicopters, 1 of the airports making strikers. And Dåseåbneren continuing with the helicopter count after building those 2 interceptors and losing 1 of them. Interceptors aren't as big of a deal anymore because there's so many missile boats and they're in a pretty good position in this little bay. And now Red's starting the counter push. Red does have 3 barracks and 1 factory going up against the 1 barracks and 1 factory for blue. So on paper, Red's going to get a lot bigger army here quickly. And it's still commandos for out of this blue barracks, which makes a lot of sense to get this set up. First infantry for Dåseåbneren on the center island at this point. $655 income for Red and 600 for blue. Both players not really making all that much money per minute, which can or cannot be a big deal. In general, you want to be making like plus 300 per minute, plus 200 per minute sort of deal. Anything less than 100, growth starts to stagnate a little bit. This is, I think, the probably the end of the game. It was all T could do to actually send all the Air Force at the Navy, because the longer this blockade was going, the worse it was getting for blue. And now the plane count has been entirely reset. And the factory and the barracks on the top right island is nice, but Dåseåbneren would be able to figure this out and then probably just build more production behind this mountain range by where this barracks is. And now the 2 cruisers, 2 missile boats, they'll be able to destroy the refinery, the barracks. They might even be able to destroy the factory. Maybe not. The cruiser might not have that much range. But still, nice job from Red to cap most of the territory, the water territory there for the income. And there's enough artillery pieces, but they weren't entrenched on this side of the coast, unfortunately. And GG. Well played both. I was away for the last few days, by the way, since I didn't cast some of these games. But I will start casting them again now. So Dåseåbneren goes on to the semifinals. Congratulations to T for making this far. That was game 3 in the quarterfinals. Lovely game. Check out the Line War Discord if you'd like to learn more about the game. Check out the Steam page. You know, other casts on this channel. Thanks for liking the video, of course, because I know all of you like it every single video, every time you watch it. Thanks for watching the videos just in general. And, you know, have a wonderful day, night, evening, whatever it is. Peace, folks.